Hello, and thank you for volunteering to serve as a Mandela Washington Fellowship application reader. Last year, the fellowship received over 64,000 applications, and we anticipate a large number of applications will be submitted again this year. Your commitment to read and score applications is an essential component of the Mandela Washington Fellowship review process. Your support ensures each application is fairly reviewed. We are excited and grateful to have you join us in the selection of the 2018 cohort of Young African Fellows. My name is Jill Grana, and I'm the Project Director for the Mandela Washington Fellowship. Our team at IREX is working closely with the online application system and reader reviews this year, and we look forward to working with you in the weeks ahead. This 10-minute webinar is designed as an additional resource for you to learn more about the fellowship and the reading and scoring process itself. Please plan to review the Reader Overview and Instructions document and the Reader Scoring rubric in addition to listening to this webinar. By the end of this webinar, you will receive an overview of the fellowship, develop an understanding of the ideal candidate, review reader instructions and the scoring rubric, and learn more about the technical details of the online application system platform. Let's begin by reviewing a few basics about the Mandela Washington Fellowship. The Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders, inaugurated in 2014, is the flagship program of the Young African Leaders Initiative, or YALI. It empowers young leaders from sub-Saharan Africa through academic coursework, leadership training, and networking opportunities. The fellowship provides these outstanding leaders with the opportunity to hone their skills at a U.S. institution of higher education, with support for professional development after they return home. In 2018, up to 700 young leaders will travel from Africa to the United States to participate in the Mandela Washington Fellowship. Once Mandela Washington Fellows arrive in the United States, they spend 6 weeks at U.S. colleges and universities for an academic and leadership institute in one of 3 tracks: business and entrepreneurship, civic leadership, or public management. Coursework and training in each of these sectors focus on the skills young African leaders will utilize to manage public offices, start and grow businesses, and serve their communities. Following the academic and leadership institutes, fellows will convene in Washington, D.C. for a 3-day summit featuring networking and panel discussions with U.S. leaders from the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. After the summit, up to 100 fellows participate in 6-week professional development experiences at U.S. businesses, nonprofits, NGOs, and government agencies. These professional development opportunities provide fellows with first-hand experience of the day-to-day workings of a relevant U.S. workplace, allowing them to build on their academic work, develop leadership skills, and expand their professional networks. Finally, the Mandela Washington Fellowship continues in Africa through support from U.S. embassies, 4 regional leadership centers, the YALI network, and customized programming from USAID, the Department of State, and affiliated partners. Select fellows have access to professional development opportunities, mentoring, networking and training, and support for their ideas, businesses, and organizations. With up to 700 young leaders participating in the fellowship this year, we are looking for a very special group of individuals. The fellowship is an opportunity designed for leaders and innovators in the fields of business and entrepreneurship, civic leadership, and public management. Ideal candidates exhibit a proven record of leadership and accomplishment in public service, business and entrepreneurship, or civic engagement, a demonstrated commitment to public or community service, volunteerism, or mentorship, the ability to work cooperatively in diverse groups and respect the opinions of others, strong social and communication skills, an energetic and positive attitude, demonstrated knowledge, interest, and professional experience in the sector or track they select, a commitment to return to Africa and apply leadership skills and training to benefit the applicant's country and or community after they return home, and strong English skills. For more details on what the ideal candidate looks like within each track, please see the chart in the 2018 Fellowship Overview document shown here. While the ideal candidate can vary by track, all will be young leaders who are engaged in their local community and positioned to affect positive change. Maybe this means they will have identified a community need and are developing a business idea in response. Alternatively, they might have begun to advocate for a new approach to policy or practice to address a challenge in their community. The ideal candidate need not hold a senior position in their organization or have already launched a successful nonprofit or business. Rather, they should be recognized as a leader within their context and positioned to influence outcomes and transform their communities. Please note that some U.S. embassies have created a country profile sheet, which will provide additional insight on their specific country priorities and the profile of their ideal candidates. If available, this supplemental document will be sent with the other reader documents when your applications are assigned. Also, it is important to note that the Mandela Washington Fellowship does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, gender, religion, socioeconomic status, disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity. As a reader, you will be assigned and review a set number of applications, normally 40, within the online application system. If you are interested in reviewing additional applications after you complete your initial assignment, please let us know. This additional support is welcome given the high volume of applications we typically receive. A basic overview of your role is as follows. You will review each candidate's application, resume, and supplemental documents. Next, you will rate each applicant on a scale of exceptional, strong, fair, poor, and non-competitive based on the selection criteria. You will also be asked to respond to a few demographic questions regarding the applicant. Finally, you will share your comments and overall recommendation for the applicant. The scoring rubric is a guide for readers which provides the selection criteria, ratings, and examples of scores for each of the criterion, which will be an important resource to reference when reviewing applications. Readers should take a holistic approach to evaluating each individual applicant. Essay questions may be linked more directly to a particular selection criterion, but you may find information in a different response that also addresses the criterion. You can use the rubric to identify those direct links, but you should consider the application as a whole, as well as the description of the ideal candidate and any guidance from the U.S. Embassy Country Profile sheet when determining your final scores and final recommendations. Please keep in mind that applicants' overall fit for the fellowship is more important than their answer to a single question. Now let's dive into each of the system and application components in a bit more detail. An account has already been created for you in the online application system platform. When you visit the online scoring system website, be sure to follow the reading committee instructions on page 3. When you log in, you will see a list of applications you have been assigned. Their status will be listed as assigned until you have completed the scoring form fully, at which point the status will change to completed. If you leave any sections of the scoring form blank, the final score and recommendation will not show up here on this page. You can sort columns by clicking on the column header and filter the list using the search tab at the bottom left of the screen. On the right side of the screen, next to each applicant's name, you will see a .pdf icon. Click this icon to view the candidate's application and resume. Within that application, you will be able to click on additional links to view the applicant's supplemental documents. Supplemental documents are optional for applicants. They might include letters of recommendation or certifications. While they are optional, readers should give submitted supplemental documents adequate consideration to help inform your overall scoring and highlight any notable attachments in the comment section. However, it should not count against an applicant if they did not provide supplemental documents. We recommend that you read a few applications in their entirety before finalizing your scoring to get a better understanding of the range of applications we receive. You will be able to go back to your scores and adjust them if necessary. After you've reviewed an applicant's materials and are ready to begin scoring, you can click on the clipboard icon to the side of that applicant's name. You will see a scoring sheet for the applicant that looks like this. The first section, Application Scores, will ask you to rate each applicant on a scale of exceptional, strong, fair, poor, and non-competitive based on the selection criteria. As a reminder, the reader scoring rubric provides guidance on what each rating means for each category. For example, a candidate who writes compellingly about their interest in the field, but who doesn't provide concrete examples of their experience, would receive a score of fair for the first criterion. Remember, it's important to consider the entire application as a whole and not just look at the answers to individual questions when you are determining final scores and recommendations. The next section has a few questions about applicant demographics. From the information given in the application, please click yes or no for the questions listed. For example, if you think from reading the application materials, the applicant is currently living outside of sub-Saharan Africa, for example, as a student in the United States or Europe, please mark yes for the residency question and then explain in the comments section. Once you have scored each criterion, you should place a check mark next to highly recommend, recommend, or do not recommend in order to indicate your final recommendation on each applicant. Your overall recommendation should take into account the entire application, including the essay questions. Please provide clarifying comments and/or notes in this section to justify your recommendation. Examples include specific concerns about an applicant, outstanding achievements, your reasoning behind your overall recommendation of the candidate, suggested issues or questions to address with the applicant during interviews, etc. Please also note information about the supplemental materials received, including any notable letters of recommendation. The most helpful comments we receive provide concrete examples of why the applicant merited their score and recommendation. For example, the candidate has already launched a startup which has reached 400 individuals and they are looking to expand locally. Less helpful comments such as wonderful applicant or this applicant shows great leadership in her chosen track don't give specifics and are less useful in the application process. You can see examples of helpful and less helpful comments in the 2018 MWF Reader's Overview and Instructions document. If you encounter any technical issues while scoring applications, first try to log in using a different web browser. Please keep in mind that you shouldn't review or score an applicant that you know. If you find you were assigned an applicant who you know in a personal or professional capacity, please notify IREX immediately so that that individual can be reassigned to another reader. When reviewing applications, please be sure to record all comments and questions. We are here to answer any additional questions, concerns, or technical issues you might encounter throughout this process. You can reach us at mwfreaders@irex.org. To learn more about the fellowship's highlights and success stories, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Our social media accounts feature stories about fellows as well as highlights from previous academic and leadership institutes and the Mandela Washington Fellowship Summit. You can also check out Flickr for photos featuring the 2017 Mandela Washington Fellows. The YALI website is a great resource to learn more about the opportunities available through the fellowship and the other components of the Mandela Washington Fellowship. We hope you will connect with us to learn more about our fellows and their stories of impact, both here in the United States and in their local communities on the continent. Thank you for joining us for this webinar, but more importantly, thank you for volunteering as a Mandela Washington Fellowship Reader. This program wouldn't be possible without your commitment to helping us find the 2018 Mandela Washington Fellowship.